Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us in this video series called Revolutionizing Pharma Cybersecurity Defense. Today, we have with us Mr. Vijendra Mishra, Global CISO and General Manager, Alchem Laboratories. And we also have us joining today Mr. Ashish Sood, Director, Western India, Sophos, joining us for this very interesting conversation today. Good morning and welcome, gentlemen.
Good morning, Sumedha and Shashi.
Good morning, Janvi. Good morning, Mr. Mishra.
So we have a very interesting topic to catch up on today, and personally, I'm very intrigued with this sector called pharmaceuticals, Vijendra, because the pandemic has proven one thing, that how much we are dependent on this sector, but the sector was never that much on the limelight. And we also realize that globally, as a pharmaceutical industry, it is one of the most critical industries which is having to deal with, a lot of data all over, very critical data around, medicines, health, all of that. And this industry at one point of time was known to be plagued with certain challenges, such as slow pace of digital adoption, unorganized last mile services, lack of trained labor, or for that matter, even ill-equipped warehouse facilities, right? However, I think, they have stood the test of time, and there has been, the pandemic and everything has proved that, there has been a complete turnaround, and you have been responsible for saving lives globally. And I'm sure, there must have been a lot of work that has gone behind, because there are too many complications in this industry, right? To begin with, even if I have to name few, third party logistics, fourth party logistics, and we hear so much about it. So just to begin with you, Mr. Vijendra, if you have been a stalwart in this industry, and especially in the cybersecurity space, right? With being flooded with R&D data and proprietary informations and clinical trial data and all of this, how do you approach your cybersecurity architecture in terms of what are the principles that you begin with? Over to you, Mr. Vijendra.
Thank you very much for asking this question. All we know that during this pandemic, even when we talk today, during pandemic, pharma was the most vulnerable to the cyber criminals, and even we talk today, pharma is still most vulnerable to the cyber criminals. Yeah, and the complexity and variety of modern, cyber attacks makes pharma, analyzing and improving security posture quite challenging. The data held by pharma companies, that includes, proprietary information about drugs, data related to pharmaceutical developments and technologies, what pharma companies are using, as well as the sensitive and personal patient information, all of high value cyber criminals. And these data must also abide by strict privacy guidelines regarding the safeguarding of protected information, what we call it PHI. Yeah. So this means that losing control over such information can have very devastating results for the business. Yeah, which emphasizes the need for a layered and constructive cybersecurity approach, and that's what we have been following. The further consequences of such infringements can go beyond the financial implications from exposed data. So the best way to have a layered security approach, and that's what we have been practicing since this pandemic started. So you mentioned rightly that before this pandemic, probably pharma was very slow in adopting new technology and starting their digital transformation journey. But this pandemic has really taught many things. And one thing is very important. If you see the pharma, drug discovery trends and all, normally it used to take 7 to 10 years. So that's the standard cycle. Has been in this industry. So any drug discovery, normally the standard timeline is 7 to 10 years. But during this pandemic, we all have seen that, in a few months we could able to, introduce some sort of drugs against this COVID-19. You know, so drug discovery is something which really, is very important for any pharma company, and we have seen during this pandemic the way, pharma companies, they discover drugs, and they introduce, did a lot of research. So those research data was also very, critical for pharma companies, and cyber criminals, intentionally they were targeting those research information and data. Yeah, and multiple even the cyber attacks happened last year in India also. If you take, you can name few more, big pharma companies. So my takeaway, and my submission to your question is that, a layered defense approach is the most important strategy for pharma organizations to have. Yeah, one which combines, fundamental protection, innovative tools, security culture, workforce education. That is very important. And, email is the most common form of communication within businesses. Whether it's a pharma or it's other businesses. Yeah, and that email, which means that personal and sensitive information is commonly shared in this way. However, there are multiple, solutions which can help you to ensure that, this email communication is well protected. So deploying a holistic cybersecurity approach, can provide greater insight into possible security risks before they occur, while continuously, re-examining your company's cyber protocols to ensure they keep up to date within the modern threat landscape and meet the workforce need. And one point is also very important, to educate and aware your workforce. So pharmaceutical teams, need to recognize what they can do to safeguard their digital assets, and how to, circumvent individuals falling victims to a phishing attack, email hack that could reveal confidential data. So user awareness and training is very important, and that's what we have been doing at Alcom. Before this pandemic started, we had taken it very seriously, and we ensure that our, workforce are, they are well trained, they are aware about all the threats are going around, and they follow the best practices. So in that way, largely you can, have some sort of assurance that your data is safe, you are having all best practices, and your employees are, complying with the, because pharma is also one of the most, heavily regulated industry. So a lot of regulations you have to follow. Yeah. So broadly, all these best practices and layered cyber security approach can definitely help you to, stay ahead from those cyber criminals, and give you some sort of peace of mind that your employees are following all best practices. You have, standard, tools and technologies which can broadly, safeguard your landscape. So that's my submission to your question here.
Wonderful, Mr. Bijendra, wonderful. And you put it very well when you said that layered, cybersecurity practices. So here I would like to just dig a little deeper, Bijendra, and when you say that, okay, you have taken care of your organization, you might have been successful in, educating your own employees, but I also understand that your industry is also heavily dependent on the ecosystem, and from our research, where at Mosaic we do some research, and we have established this again and again, that for business transformation of any company, right, ecosystem is one of the primary pillars. There are 5 pillars to business ecosystem, business transformation as per us, and one of the more dominant pillars is ecosystems. And today that ecosystem is digitally driven. So when I say digital ecosystem, it's digital ecosystem, because your digital integration with your supply chain party and all of that, and that is also almost your extended, company, even if it is third party, even if it is fourth party, right? And like you said, that pharmaceutical industry has, shaped up in leaps and bounds in the last 5 years, if I have to put it right. So there has been a huge adoption to cloud, huge adoption to IoT, and someone like your company, right? You are spread across 19 manufacturing locations to begin with. You're spread across 6 to 7 countries across the world, right? So I'm sure your digital ecosystem has to be very, very robust, right? So when it comes to this parlance, how do you, then build or what is it that you look for in the cybersecurity architecture if you are, taking the help and support of cybersecurity specialists or vendors? So, what is it that you look for? What is that main pain point that you look to approach and solve at the very outset of it?
Sure. So, no matter where you turn, you are constantly, bombarded by stories of corporate cybersecurity breaches every day. Phishing scams, internet fraud, and other nightmare incidents are happening around every day. Yeah. So, cybercrime is a big problem these days, and giving rise to the importance of, sound cybersecurity practices. I would say it's very important. When you talk about, cybersecurity architecture, see, architecture is the foundation of any organization's defense against cyber threats. And when it comes to pharma, you said rightly that pharma, companies should have very robust, security architecture, I would say, which can ensure that, all components of your IT infrastructure are well protected. Environments that are, secured by a cybersecurity architecture, that includes, you said rightly, cloud, then you have networks, then you have IoT, you have endpoints, you have mobile devices. So, we have been trying to adopt is to have a zero trust security model. Yeah. So, we were the first pharma company who adopted, zero trust during this pandemic. So, when this pandemic was on peak, we started our zero trust journey. So, when cybersecurity architecture, basically it adheres to all 7 principles of the zero trust security model, which talks about devices, talks about people, data, network, workload, automation, and orchestration, and visibility and analytics. So, an enterprise can secure data and IT resources wherever they are residing if we follow this zero trust security model, which has 7 major principles, I would say. Yeah. So, protection across the entire IT infrastructure is very important. Preemptive threat prevention technology is the key, to a modern cybersecurity architecture. Blocking sophisticated attacks before any damage can be inflicted. So you need to have again, I would say, a very robust cybersecurity architecture where you integrate zero trust security model with all 7 major principal components of that, and then again you need to have very well defined and I would say robust policy and procedures at place to get followed, because I have seen in many organizations you have best architecture, you have best tools and technologies, but if it's not getting properly implemented and not getting regularly reviewed, this gives another it opens another risk window for any organization. So we need to have a very robust multi-layered zero trust architecture where we incorporate all seven principles of zero trust, and regularly we need to review it. And because see, cyber threats are increasing day by day. Even the attack surface has been increasing. If you see last few years, every day you have new risks, new threats are coming. Cyber criminals are finding new ways to get into your data and network. So multi-layered again approach with the robust zero trust architecture will help up to certain extent to have a better control and to secure your IT landscape. That's my submission to your question.
Thanks, Vijendra. And that was very, very detailed outline how you presented. Ashish, I come to you at this junction of our conversation, and you just heard, Vijendra, kind of, mapping the whole pharma landscape for us, right? You are also, from a global company who are actually solutionizing all these pain points, day in and day out, for multiple of your customers across different, sectors for that matter, and not just being restricted to pharma. But pharma is very typical because, it is one of the most regulated sector as well. The compliance is, I think, just after the financial sector, or maybe more than that. I would rather keep it higher, right? Because it's our lives at stake. So, how are you helping, and what is your approach? And Mr. Vijendra mentioned about zero trust, right? So, how do you approach and solutionize such case studies when they are being presented to you? Over to you, Ashish.
Okay. See, when you work in cybersecurity, uh, it's easy to lose sight of an important but underappreciated fact. In the battle over the critical systems and data, defenders are winning, I would argue. The daily headlines that report new security breaches serve an important purpose as cautionary tales to remind us to take preventive actions, and stay vigilant. But these stories are exception to the rule. There are no headlines for the businesses that successfully defend themselves against the thousands of breaches attempts every day. I'm saying every day, thousands of them every day. Not only has cybersecurity effectiveness dramatically improved, but the latest tools and managed security services from Sophos are more accessible and cost effective than ever before. Technologies like anti-ransomware, exploit prevention, behavioral detection, anti-phishing are all available to all. These capabilities, which are facilitated, improved, accelerated by artificial intelligence and machine learning, are addressing the known adversarial tactics, techniques, and procedures documented in MITRE ATT&CK framework, probably which are even used by nation states. And these improvements have closed the holes, closed paths, and blocked techniques that have made some attacks so cost prohibitive that attackers have to adapt. In fact, it has shifted their approach from automated malware, what we saw with WannaCry, to a more comprehensive approach that combines automation with hands-on hacking. The adversary's main goal is to remain undetected as far as possible. And the best way to do that is act like an employee and live off the land, like using local tools, local devices, a typical traffic patterns. These sophisticated attacks, which require human investment or even more costly, are even more costly for the victims. The attackers can exploit their in-depth knowledge of the victim's environment and cause maximum damage and demand maximum return. They have commercialized it. We all have heard of ransomware. So such business and attack shifts necessitate evolution in IT security as well. Organizations face an intelligent adversary that continually moves the objective as they progress toward it, requiring IT security teams to develop countermeasures that improve their chances of winning. Like I said earlier, that yes, a lot of our are winning, but we still need to make it more robust. So firstly, it requires a paradigm shift from security management to security operations. Gone are the days, set it and forget it, security policy. Security teams need to look for suspicious activity as early in the attack chain as possible in order to give defenders the ability to respond before damage is done. Even stealthy attackers will leave breadcrumbs, and security teams need to find and follow the trail to stop the attack early in the process. The longer it is in the system, the chances are that it will become a breach. So second, with business now so interconnected, security needs to follow suit. Security teams need to move from unintegrated security point products to an adaptive cyber security system that automatically prevents as much as possible while enabling operators to search and detect weaker signals. Because attackers are moving stealthily, they don't want to alert you. So business environments and attacks are always evolving. The future of the IT security is a system that enables unique feedback loop, so it can constantly learn and improve. New information and events detected by operations team can be automated, improving prevention and reducing the number of new attacks that get into system. So similarly, as automation software improves, operators can find suspicious behaviors and even faster than even before and reduce the incidents and reduce all the breaches. So the good news is that this system already exists. Sophos Adaptive Cybersecurity Ecosystem addresses this new reality. And while we are at it, I would also like to tell you about world's most trusted cybersecurity platform, which is Sophos Central. It is a single cloud management solution for all your security next-gen technologies with unified management console, real-time information sharing with all the products, and automated incident response. It makes cybersecurity easy and more effective. So consolidating all your protection into single cloud platform means that you can scale your security without scaling your resources. With everything in one place, you'll save time, effort, and money. If it needs protecting, we can help you secure it, whether it is your endpoint, whether it is your server, mobile, public cloud, firewall, email, wireless, WAF, or ZTNA. Our customers report 50% reduction in time effort spent managing IT security, 85% reduction in security incidents, 90% reduction in time to identify issues and more. And did I mention it's free? Yes, you heard it right. It's absolutely free. While most IT security vendors want you to pay extra for the cloud management, we don't think you should have to. After all, our products are purpose built for cloud and take advantage of features more. So, and important thing, we innovated a concept of synchronized security back in 2016. So we put your security on an autopilot to an extent. So Sophos industry-leading AI and tightly integrated products share information to automatically respond to incidents. No other security vendors offers as many products integrated this deeply by sharing information and telemetry in real time. So Sophos product can automatically respond to incidents for you, isolate infected endpoints, block lateral movements, restrict Wi-Fi for non-compliant mobile devices, scan endpoints upon detection and compromised mailboxes, identify all apps accessed by users. It's one of the biggest game changers in cybersecurity ever. And a lot of organizations have spent millions of rupees in protecting their organization, but they have to manage it also effectively. But not all organizations, very few organizations will have right tools, people and processes in-house to effectively manage the security program around the clock. So there is a lot of dependence on automated endpoint protection. But what happens if a bad actors are able to circumvent the protection? Will anyone notice it before it becomes a breach? So Sophos managed threat detection provides 24/7 threat monitoring and detection to ensure whatever suspicious activity evades your security controls will not go unnoticed, and we respond to it. So this is how we enable comprehensive cybersecurity for an organization.
Wonderful, Ashish. Wonderful. That's awesome, because what you told me, this is really mind-boggling, and at the same time, very, very comforting. That okay, we have people such as yourself and companies such as Sophos who are working, so proactively. But at this junction, Bijendra, I'd like to come to you as to two things really latched on, from what Ashish said, is that one, it is not about cybersecurity management anymore. It is about having a, smart cybersecurity operations, right? It's not about management, but having operations, right? And the other positive thing is that, like Ashish mentioned, that yes, we do have an oversight. We keep harping about the breaches that have happened because they get highlighted, and the saves are not highlighted. However, when I come to you, Bijendra, what I wanted to address to you is that with this changing landscape and of, this shift required from, just being security management to security operations, right? You must have traveled a journey, because when you say that, yes, the pharma industry took made a turnaround, and you also had to step up your game. How was your journey? Can you just articulate, how did you mentioned what all you have adopted, starting with this zero trust approach and everything. But what was your journey like? What were you doing before, and what had you to transcend to? If you could throw some light on that.
So basically, as I said earlier, for pharma, IT or cybersecurity just a support function, yeah. So even when you talk in general about IT, pharma never realized that IT can play an instrumental role, to enable their business. But when this pandemic started, and everybody started talk about how business is going to continue, how our workforce they are going to get access to the applications, yeah. And then suddenly one thing also came into mind, that how securely they are going to having access to our services, whether it's a business applications or file servers or manufacturing applications and all, yeah. And this has been a hot topic for discussion from basement to the board. So many times I have seen that very senior board members who never thought about and talked about IT and technology or security, I mean, they suddenly started to talk about it. Yeah. So like like any other companies or corporates, I would say, I mean, we also had some challenges in terms of ensuring that we are facilitating our IT services to our workforce. I mean, mainly to our remote workforce, in a secure way. Yeah. So started with the facilitated them with the laptops, so they can do their work from home or remotely, and then also added a layer of security so they can communicate securely also. Yeah, lot of initiatives we took since we had challenges our workforce. They never they had no experience, I would say, in past to work like this remotely, connecting from their mobile data or connecting from home Wi-Fi routers and all. So multiple initiatives we took to ensure that we are securing our landscape, and we started with training and awareness. So parallelly we work on multiple I would say again a layered approach we followed. So one side we ensure that our users are getting trained that how they can access applications and IT services remotely, and also at backend we ensure that we have all controls and security arrangements to ensure that whatever services we are offering for our workforce, when they are trying to access remotely, they are secure. So technology adoption, training, awareness, and then also some best practices that what they should do, what they should not do. For users, and also for our IT department, that what best practices we should follow, what best we can do. That we followed again a multi-layered approach on that. And when we started this journey, then of course multiple initiatives we took to further strengthen our controls and cyber security posture. So we went for zero trust. We implemented some other tools. We also went for PAM solutions. We went for MDM solution. So multiple tools and technologies we incorporated just to broadly ensure that we are following the best practices, and all the services what we are offering to our workforce are largely secure.
Wonderful, Bijendra. I think you made a very important point here, is that previously, and this is what we are also seeing in our research across all technology solutions, that previously the IT heads, they were chasing the business leaders so as to for the the enablement and the adoption of IT solutions. Okay, but what has happened in the last few years, and rather more importantly in the last 2 years, is that now the business leaders have understood the the importance of IT adoption, IT enablement, and how IT can proliferate across the organization to achieve organizational goals. And there is a complete buy-in of business leaders with the IT leaders. So now both of them are working hand in hand and coming together to create solutions. And of course, everyone goes without an exception has understood the importance of cybersecurity in the whole space, in the larger context. Ashish, I want to conclude this conversation with you now. And we saw that how we have harped upon the topic of business leaders and their buy-in, right? So the leadership part is being dealt with. The organizational security architectures part has also been dealt with. Then we also have the the ecosystem bit being dealt with, right? But one piece that also we deem very, very important, and I think you've already mentioned a little bit in your previous one, innovation. Innovation is a huge part for any company's business transformation. All businesses are wanting to grow. It is not to achieve status quo, but to grow, right? And innovation, the liberty to innovate, the confidence to innovate comes only when you know that, okay, you are sitting on a very strong and comfortable cybersecurity architecture, right? So this whole innovation piece, which is becoming importantly, and very aggressively predominant in every conversation. Every boardroom conversation today is having talking about innovation, because you want to be racing ahead the market and the competitor. What do you see, cybersecurity's play in this innovation piece?
Right. So that the pharmaceutical industry or other industries or companies, so that they can focus on their core business and innovate, we in cybersecurity, we also continuously innovate, and security has to work as a system. And like I touched upon earlier, Sophos ACE is a adaptive cybersecurity ecosystem which we have innovated. And how we have done it is that quite a while ago, this was an internal project that we called Darwin. And the reason we named it Darwin was internal as an internal project was that we wanted to build it as an IT security ecosystem that really adapted to change as much on its own as possible, and full Sophos ecosystem where you see all the different software products and the various hardware products, and we actually see them as sensors, which are deployed across your organization, and they provide very rich data. They provide data into both the data lake, and they can also hold data on the device themselves. Whatever data goes into the data lake, we can color that with threat intelligence. So we have artificial intelligence models that we run on top of that. We have and we have traditional threat intelligence that we pull in from our global 24/7 labs infrastructure we have. So, and we also have our own service. So we can run XDR on behalf of our customers through what we call managed threat response service. So that I spoke about it earlier also, and we have those security operators run the same system. But what's interesting in all this is that we also learn from those security operators. So we are building models or innovating those models based on how they solve cases and try to automate as much as possible, so that we can respond to those particular threats in the kind of way that Darwin type of evolution mode, where we can adapt to the things as much we can in real time. And then what we can also do is that we siphon out a lot of cases that aren't really necessarily mission critical, which require a human operator, and allow them to focus on complex cases. So once we see something which is not critical, we automate it in our AI so that next time it is automatically taken care of. So both the product and service is built on top of our infrastructure. We call Sophos Central, which I discussed earlier also. So Sophos Central is almost like a developer platform that Sophos uses to build our applications on top of it. So it leverages all the common infrastructure that we built around the data lake and the AI models, but also things like we can create common security policy and reporting engines. And then the service runs on top of the same infrastructure. They can run multi-tenant service on behalf of customers who may don't have security expertise and maybe just want to scale and operate it themselves. So a single integrated data lake that takes information from all the products and our threat intelligence sources, the real-time analysis that enables defenders to prevent breaches by proactively finding the suspicious signal amongst the noise. So this is how we continuously innovate and build this into AI, so that the incidents are responded to before they become breach, and everything, all of this is managed through a single Sophos Central management platform. So these 5 elements, which is threat intelligence, next-gen techniques, data lake, APIs, and central management, work together to create an adaptive cybersecurity ecosystem that constantly learns and improves. So it leverages the power of automation and analysts to enable the shift from security management to security operations. Automation can analyze, react faster to behaviors and events, while human analysts are better at correlating multiple suspicious signals and interpreting the meaning of that. And while the power of comprehensive ecosystem is extensive, you can use as much or as little as you like. So this past year has turned many security operations center into virtual SOCs. Sophos ACE can be managed by security experts from any location. You don't have to be in any particular location. You may have thousands of sites. You can manage it from any site, giving your organization the ability to find best global security talent, and experts can manage the detection and response service for you.
Awesome, Ashish. That's very, very comforting and heartening to know that okay, we are in safe hands thanks to companies such as Sophos, and more importantly, Bijendra, hats off to you and your company, because you are not only protecting your own company, you're protecting lives of thousands of people across the globe, and we are all indebted to you. And these are very few opportunities we get to, say that thank you to you in person. Okay, and the journey that you really mapped out in terms of your technological evolution and how you had to, build that whole robust cybersecurity architecture to protect all of this. It's a humongous task, and and especially given the fact that all of this happening and your company is growing year on year, right? So I was also saying that, it's not just that you're just protecting and your status quo, you are growing in leaps and bounds every year. So that's a huge task. And thank you so much for such an invigorating conversation on a Saturday morning. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time once again. And thank you for this very, very, insightful conversation that we had today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to add one more point here that Propose really plays a very instrumental role in protecting our information. Yeah. So we feel privileged to be a part of Propose journey, and Propose has been very kind, and very proactively they have been supporting us to ensure that we are protecting our information. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vijender, for kind words, and thank you, Janvi, for taking time to talk to us today. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Yeah. Take care, guys. Have a nice day.